Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very pleasant evening I bid to our honorable guest speaker, our interviewee, Mr Azrin Izuddin from Kuala Lumpur, to for this interview regarding Jumaat prayer. So as we all know, we are Muslims, we are male Muslims, obligated to perform Jumaat prayer during Zuhur prayer time during on Friday. So we have a few questions to ask Mr. Azrin about Jumaat prayer. So without further ado, I would like to proceed with the first question. So, Mr. Azrin, before that, can you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, Assalamualaikum to all of you.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, my name is Mohammad Azrin Izuddin bin Muamin. Currently I'm staying in Sri Kembangan, Selangor. Okay, so can we start, right?
Okay. The first question. Around what age did you begin to perform Jumaat prayer?
Okay, regarding the question, okay, around what age? Okay, for your information, as far I remember, I performed Jumaat prayer since I was in standard 1.
Okay.
During that time, I already started to perform Jumaat prayer every weekend on Friday.
Okay. So, when did you first go to the mosque? Was it the first time you go to mosque during your first time going to Jumaat prayer?
Sorry, come again?
Is that your first time going to the mosque? Was when you are in standard 1?
Yes. That was my first time when I in standard 1, yes.
Okay. Now we will move to the second question. Mr. Azrin,
Okay.
have you been convinced by your family members to go to Jumaat prayer?
Indeed, yes, correct. Because as a Muslim, we are obligated, right, to go to Jumaat prayer for every Friday, and I have been convinced by, of course, by my father. He always advised me regarding and our ibadah, and he is the first person that convinced me to go for Jumaat prayer.
Okay. Maybe Alif or Izuddin wanted to ask a few questions.
Okay, Mr. Azrin, is it?
Yes.
Okay, now moving on to the third question is, how do you learn to practice Jumaat prayers?
Okay, my first lesson regarding Jumaat prayer was from my father, and my critical learning is when I was in primary school by my ustad. That was my first lesson regarding the Jumaat prayer.
Okay, now moving on to the next question is, what was your personal attitude towards Jumaat prayer?
My first attitude. Okay. Okay, my first attitude. Okay. I'm not quite sure about my first attitude lah, but for me, the Jumaat prayer is an obligation, and we as a good Muslim should go to mosque lah, masjid, for the Friday prayer, and there is no excuse for us to skip the Jumaat prayer unless, like in our current situation, that we had faced the hard time, like because of this coronavirus. So for me, the obligation is become what we call is in Islam is harus, for us to stay at home and change the obligation to for us to perform the Zuhur prayer. So for me, it depends on the situation lah. For time being, we should be a flexible person. So for me, the Jumaat prayer, the Zuhur prayer lah is it.
Okay. Thank you for your.
I believe that Alif has a few questions to ask also.
Okay.
Okay.
My question is, what is your new responsibility that you have learned since you were an adult now?
Sorry, come again. I'm not quite clear about that.
Okay. What is your new responsibility that you have learned since you are an adult now?
Oh, I see.
Yes.
That's a tough question actually, because the question is very subjective, depend on the person, right? Okay, for me, the first responsibility that I learned is to become an adult person is like, first of all, my responsibility toward myself lah. Because for me, an adult person is, hello?
Yeah. We are listening. We are here.
We are here. Still here.
Okay.
I am making a note.
Okay. As an adult person, first of all, we have to consider everyone lah. We have to consider everything, every situation, like our responsibility to ourselves, to our parent, and to our family lah, for most. And the one thing that important is like how we act in the society. And is this question related with Jumaat prayer?
Yes.
Still related lah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is related.
Okay, so we can conclude, right? As the responsibility toward the society, like corporate social responsibility, like, because for the current times, the Jumaat prayer actually we perform it in a group of person, right? So for time being, as our responsibility, I think my opinion is because it affect, right, in the current situation, it affect our society, like, because this kind of virus, this coronavirus, very fast. It can spread in any time. So when we talk about responsibility, it is very important for us to know that our responsibility to keep distance from others, and maybe it affect our obligation to perform the Jumaat prayer. But our most important responsibility is to keep our society in a healthy state. So the best thing is we can perform the Zuhur prayer at home. Instead, we perform the Jumaat prayer at mosque, because it will lessen the possibility of the virus to spread quickly.
Yes.
That is
Further,
my
even
opinion
further,
lah.
yes, and even add salt to the wound, something like that. So
Yes, correct.
yes. Okay, Mr. Azrin. On to the next question. What do you do before? What do you usually do before you went to the masjid to perform Jumaat prayer? We go into a more lighter question because the previous question was a bit lengthy of your explanation. So we will we'll try to give you a more relaxed question so that you can slow down a bit. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Usually what did you do before you went to the masjid? Did you have any practices or something that you wanted to share with us? What you do before you go to Jumaat prayer?
Okay, from my practice, before I went to the masjid to perform Jumaat prayer, usually we as a Muslim, we are advised to, it can be called as sunnah by our Prophet Nabi Muhammad SAW to
No.
perform the the sunat, the mandi sunat. Yes, what we call in English, I'm not quite sure lah, but we can perform the sunat Jumaat punya mandi.
Okay, got it.
That one, I think you all know lah regarding that. And the first things is to clean ourselves, and maybe we can put some sedekah to person that less fortunate lah.
Before we enter the mosque.
It's advisable lah for us as a Muslim to perform that before we perform the Jumaat prayer actually.
Okay. So, is there anything that you do? I mean, things like beside what you have said before. Is there any other interesting practices that you do that you might want to share with us? I mean,
Usually, me as a employee, I just proceed my normal daily routine lah. I will go to office and settle my all my works, and then I went to mosque lah for Jumaat prayer actually.
how long? Usually, how long your break? Your Jumaat prayer break?
Okay. Normally, my break should be in 2 hours time lah. And in that time, I can go to lunch and maybe doing some research regarding our religious, or maybe go to religious talk, any ceramah agama, and we can hear some tazkirah from Ustad. That is normal practice lah for me before doing the Friday prayer.
Okay, Mr. Azrin. Guys, is there anything that you would like to add? Would like to ask Mr. Azrin? Anyone?
Okay. I'm me first. Okay. My question is, are there any obligation that you need to do in the masjid?
Do you mean the obligation is the practice or the normal practice? Like
The normal
the things, the practice that we do before the Friday prayer, or something else?
More
Friday
to
prayer. More to Friday prayer, right? Izuddin.
personal. What the question is towards.
Because if you say about the obligation,
about, I mean the
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes,
so
hello.
what we meant was, um, are there any obligation that you need to do in the masjid? I mean, is there anything that you you practice? I mean, do you perform solat sunat istikharah first before, or is there any
Yes.
zikir or practices that you do?
Okay. Okay, normally for my practice, actually it's not an obligation, but for me, the normal practice is before I perform the Jumaat prayer, I will proceed with Solat Tahiyatul Masjid. That one is 2 rakaat. And then I will read Al-Quran, maybe for 2 or 3 ply. Um, and while I'm waiting for the azan, I will hear the tazkirah lah from the imam. And once the azan, the first azan, actually we have 2 azan, right, for before we proceed with the Friday prayer, right?
Yes.
So while after the first azan is started, and then I will perform 2 rakaat prayer lah, the sunat prayer for before proceed with the Friday prayer. That one is my normal practice lah in the masjid before I perform the Jumaat prayer.
I think we all could use what you have mentioned before in our practice, because maybe some of us did not perform as much as you do. So maybe
Correct.
that can be
Correct.
a really good example for us to change for
Yes.
better. So without further delay, I would like to ask you our next question regarding our interview. So
Okay.
this might be a little bit interesting because it might bring some memories. But Mr. Azrin, when did you start go to Jumaat prayer without any persuasion from your family or friends? Meaning, you are willingly. When is the first time that you feel, as long as you can recall, when was the first time that you feel I want to go to the mosque because I want to perform my Jumaat prayer without anyone or anything told you to? Meaning, when is the first time you voluntarily want to go to the mosque and perform Jumaat prayer?
Actually, for Jumaat prayer, I had seen my father every Friday. He will went out, will dress like imam and wearing songkok and wearing baju Melayu, and that time I just wondering lah. Is my father went out for any event or any occasion, because he will dress smartly, and he will put some perfume. So I think without any persuasion, I think I will go for the mosque for the Friday prayer, because I will like wondering where my father is going. Every Friday he will go out smartly and put some perfume that is for me is very comfortable. So I think that one is a good things. So why not? I will go to that place. So I think if I didn't have any information about the Friday prayer, I will go to mosque lah for Friday prayer, because at that time it's kind like of persuasion, like accidentally persuasion lah, without any persuasion from anyone. I will like kind of wondering. Every Friday, we as a man, we go to some place or so some occasion to attend that one lah.
So you have been taught by a good example from your father. So, which is a really good.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not by persuasion actually.
you
It's
just learn
just
from
followed by such example lah.
following a good example. Your father have set a really good example for you to follow, and from that you accidentally get persuaded to go to the mosque because you are wondering where was my father going. So you went there, and then you know you
Yes,
go to
correct. Mr.
the
Hisyamuddeen,
yeah.
wise man.
So um from your experience going to the mosque for Jumaat prayer, does that sometimes make you feel like a burden for you to go to the mosque and perform Jumaat prayer, or does it or is it another way around where does it help you to find some times to relax your mind so that you can carry on and face the world, something like that? It makes you becomes more stronger after you perform Jumat prayer. Is that a burden or the other way around?
Okay, good question, Mr. Hisyamuddeen.
Thank you.
Actually, there was a time lah for me. We as a man to go to mosque to perform the prayer, the Friday prayer every Friday. There was a time for me lah, like it was a burden for us as a man. But for the whole time, for my whole life lah actually, in a week. Okay, this question can like reflect all of us lah as a man, because sometimes we as a man, as a human, we sometimes also forgot our creator Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala regarding this. And there was a lack of time that we can perform solat jemaah together with all people. And for my opinion, Friday prayer is quite a piece of practice actually. It create our peace, our inner peace, and create awareness lah for us, especially when we hear to the khutbah Jumaat, the Friday khutbah. And by listening to the Friday khutbah, we also can learn new things and new knowledge, especially regarding our life and regarding our belief to our God, Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala actually. For me,
About
it's such a good practice actually. That differ us from other religion lah actually.
when I think when we go to the mosque and perform Jumat prayer and listen to the khutbah, it makes us stop thinking about the world, about our work, about our life, what is going on with our situation, and that in that particular
Yes, correct.
the first
Because for me,
activity or
especially when we are working, right, or we have classes, when we perform the Friday prayer, like we just take a break and lose our mind from the world, especially the world, that very hectic world, very busy world. So we take a few times, like 1 hour or 2 hour, we can relax our mind and face our creator and do the prayer lah. That's why for me that will give the inner peace to our mind actually, to our soul.
to Mr. Azrin. And can you share with us what was your first, if you can recall, what was your response when your family first invite you to Jumat prayer? Are you feeling excited or some kind you feel you are forced to go to the mosque?
Okay, frankly speaking, that at first actually for me it's like a force lah actually. I'm not so willing to not willingly to perform solat or to perform any prayer actually. But at one time at certain time, especially at my age right now, the prayers is like it is an obligation lah actually, and sometimes the prayers surely will reflect ourselves, and it will give my inner peace, and it also provide the comfy feeling in myself. And if we talk about the first times prayer, I will say it like a burden lah for me. But for the time being, actually, the solat is the most close distance that we with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Response, Mr. Azrin.
Mr. Azrin, a question.
Okay, you may
Okay.
proceed, Alif.
It's Odin actually.
Oh, Odin. Sorry.
Focus, Azrin.
The screen is always changing. I'm not sure it's Alif or Odin.
It's me. Okay. This question is a bit long. Okay. Jumaat prayer can be considered as mass gathering. When you go to your local mosque for Jumaat prayer, did you use the opportunity to greet your friends or your acquaintance? How does that make you feel?
Okay, one moment, Odin. Sorry. Again?
Okay.
Mr. Azrin, you
Jumaat
can
prayer.
switch. You can switch
Ah.
tab and you can read the question. I've shared the screen with you.
Yes. It's question number 13, Mr. Azrin.
Okay. Yes, it is true that we can say that Jumaat prayer can be considered as a mass gathering, because when we go to the mosque, we will meet all people, different kind of people and different kind of background. Hello?
Hello.
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 Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I can.
Okay, then sorry. Maybe
Okay, it's
some
okay.
network problem that occur. Okay, regarding your question, in my opinion, Jumaat prayer we can consider it as a time, as the time to meet all people from different kind of background and different kind of person lah. So that is the opportunity that was given by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala for us, like to create like an environment. We can greet our friend, we can greet some people, we can share the knowledge about the religion, and for me it will make me feel more like we can say it as humble in kind of learning process, especially when we're seeking for certain knowledge from other people. We can exchange some information regarding the religious information, like our normal practice in our daily life. So it is quite like can we call as a new lesson or new knowledge lah that we can gain from Jumaat prayer. It's not sort of a normal prayer, but by going and by performing the Jumaat prayer, we are exposed to different kind of environment, to different kind of people, and by doing that also, I think we also can improve in our networking, especially in our daily life lah. Because not all person are given the opportunity to meet every kind of person, right?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Azrin. maybe Alif would like to add, would like to ask some question.
Yes, I have some questions to ask. Mr. Azrin, are you consider your family as religious?
Sorry?
Um, are you consider your family as religious?
Okay. In my opinion, I do not consider my family is quite a religious, but still I can say about my family is um, we are reminding each other for especially regarding our Rukun Islam, right? The first one is like performing syahadah, solat for 5 times a day, and when Ramadan we perform our fasting, right? So quite normal lah for us as a Muslim. But to say that my family is religious, I'm not quite sure lah regarding that. But
Uh,
we are doing, for me, we are doing good lah, especially to remind each other regarding our practice, daily life, sort of that lah.
okay, thank you. For my next question is, okay, how does it feel when you cannot go to the mosque for Jumaat prayers, given the current situation in our country right now?
Is it something? Is it something um, a rare occurrence to you? Because I believe you never miss your knowing you this whole year. You almost every Friday you went to the mosque and performed Jumaat prayer. Because Mr. Azrin is my senior during my time in UITM. So I know him from UITM. So every Friday he will go to the
Masya Allah, Mr. Hisyamuddeen, Masya Allah,
yeah.
Masya Allah, Mr. Hisyamuddeen.
So given the current situation, Mr. Azrin, how does that make you feel when you
If
cannot
you
go?
are asking my feeling
Yes.
to not perform the prayer, it it will be such a sad moment, Mr. Hisyamuddeen. Masya Allah.
I I
But
I, I
given the current situation that
Yeah.
yes, I
But
believe
given the current situation, right, I I think it is the best possible way for us to stay at home, like our beloved Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin bin Yassin, for us to stay at home and to keep our condition at best. So I think as a Muslim, the obligation to perform the Friday prayer, for time being, it is an obligation for us to stay at home.
and
So
follow the
I
order.
think, yes, follow the order of our beloved Prime Minister lah.
Okay. I think that was uh, the final question of the interview.
Do we have one more question?
That was the last question of the interview. Is there anything that you guys would like to ask, Mr. Azrin? Anything
Yes.
that you guys would like to ask?
Last question.
Okay,
One last question.
please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Mr. Azrin,
Yes.
the last question. The last question is: have you thought you'll have to grow up with this responsibility to persuade your own family to go to the Jumaat prayers?
Yes,
Yes,
for
actually,
the record, guys,
it is
he has
our
a daughter now. He soon will have a son.
actually it is our fardu kifayah lah, actually. We as a Muslim should should remind ourselves and really our friends to proceed with the practice. As a Muslim, right? We have to remind with patience, and we have to always to remind with love and with kind to all person, to our Muslim relative, right? Regarding this, not only for Friday prayers, but for everything that was advised and was practiced by our Prophet Nabi Muhammad SAW, and is not contradicted by our Ahli Sunnah wal Jamaah.
Wow, a very
Answer there, Mr. Azrin.
full explanation by Mr. Azrin. So, Alif, is there anything you like to ask Mr. Azrin?
I think I don't have the question.
Izuddin?
I think that is all for me.
So, Mr. Azrin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for spending so much time.
And also best of luck to all of you, to Alif, to Oden, and to my beloved Hisyamuddeen.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aliying. Alright, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I think that's about it for today lah. So once again, thank you so much
Good luck.
for participating.
And be safe at home.
Yes, you too.
Thank you, Mr. Azrin.
You too.
Take care. Send regards to your wife, to your daughter, Afia.
Thank you. Koroi.
Alright. Thank you, Ying. Alright. We will
Kejam.
contact you soon. Thank you. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum.
Bye. Salam.